On this edition of Sports Check, we talk about the art of goalkeeping. And when it comes to goalkeeping, there's no better person to speak to than the former Blasters goalie, who is now a goalkeeper's coach. Abukari Damba is my guest on Sports Check, and once we come from this break, we zoom into the conversation. It's Sports Check, and my name is Perez Ezwakwa. Welcome back from the break. This is Sports Check, and Abukari Damba, a legendary goalkeeper, is the one I'm speaking to today. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
You just finished training a host of goalkeepers, and today we are discussing an interesting topic that pertains to your field. For someone who doesn't know a lot about football, what's goalkeeping?
Well, the goalkeeper is an integral part of the whole team, but has a specific role to play. And it is only the goalkeeper who is allowed to use every part of the body so far as their area of operation is concerned. When I say area of operation, I'm talking about the goal area. The goalkeeper is permitted to use his or her feet and the hands, especially in his or her own area of operation, that is the goal area. So it is the goalkeeper who is permitted to use his or her hands in the goal area. But apart from the hands being used in the goal area, you can use any other part of your body in any other part of the field. You can even go as far as to the opponent's goal area and play, and can even score goals. And we have seen that happen time and time again, even though it is not too rare, but it is also part of the game. So generally, he's an integral part of, the team. But in my opinion, because arguably though, I always say the goalkeeper's position is the most important.
So I think last week or so there was this discussion on Twitter. Says Fabregas, Rio Ferdinand, and the guys, they were talking about the most important aspect of the game. Ferdinand feels it's for its defense. Fabregas feels it's midfield. I think there was one attacker who made a case for midfielders. What makes you think that, just one man in the post and we have other men, what makes your role more important than someone who is basically running on the field and chasing the ball?
Simple. Very, very simple. All the main actors on the pitch make lots of mistakes, and they can be covered.
Sure.
And the mistakes could be covered. But the goalkeeper's mistake is final. The goalkeeper can single-handedly win and lose games. Not consciously or deliberately, but this is a metaphorical statement that I've made.
Sure.
The goalkeeper's mistake is final. So for which reason, the goalkeeper must concentrate for 90 minutes plus, depending on the duration of the game, without blinking. So the goalkeeper must be alert and alive for the whole duration of the game. Because for which reason, in my opinion, and I think so, that the goalkeeper is the most important player on the pitch because of their situation, where they find themselves. Very delicate, very sensitive, and must be devoid of too many mistakes. Because your mistake is doom. It spells doom for the whole team.
Does that not add an extra layer of pressure, to goalkeepers in such that you almost at every time have to get it right? Basically, there is no room for error.
Yes.
Does that not add a bit of pressure to goalkeepers?
I don't think so. It is a role, it's a responsibility, and it's a choice. You have made a choice to be a goalkeeper, and you know the dynamics of goalkeeping. You know what comes with goalkeeping. And because it is a specialized department for specialists, so every goalkeeper specializes and must be a specialist.
Yeah.
So when they call you a specialist in a particular field, it means devoid of too many errors. Your level of error should be very, very minimal. So we goalkeepers are very much aware that we have a responsibility of keeping the whole team on our own shoulders. So mistakes, no room for mistakes. So we are prepared physically and prepared mentally. So we hardly have any space to breathe.
Yep.
So we are trained to behave like that, act like that. So that's why we call ourselves the most important people on the pitch.
You know, earlier on when you were explaining the role of goalkeepers, you made mention of using your bodies. But over time, we've seen the role of goalkeepers transform or evolve. Now you are no longer going to catch the ball in the air and perhaps hoop it into the air and maybe to the opponent's half. Now basically you are part of the build-up. Even from 2014, we saw Manuel Neuer introduce something new where a goalkeeper is now more of a sweeper.
Yep.
When the ball evades the defenders, you have to be the next line of defense, not just in your post. You have to come out and attack the ball.
Yeah.
How do you manage that as a goalkeeper, that you are not just going to catch the ball, but now you even have to start the attack. You also have to play defensive roles as well. How do you manage that?
I tell you, football is a functional game. And we are talking about defending, that is when you don't have the ball. Attacking, when you have the ball. These are functional plays. Then we have the transitional moments in the game, which is what are you doing when you have the ball and you lose the ball? When you lose the ball and you win the ball. These are the two transitional moments. And goalkeepers have their roles, specific roles to play during these transitional moments. Now, functionally, in as much as defensively, you are supposed to prevent the ball from getting past you into your net. That is where you become a shot stopper. But functionally, when your team has the ball, what is the goalkeeper doing to make the goal-scoring opportunities of his team as big as possible? And you can only score when you have the ball in the team. Keep the ball in the team. So you need to improve upon your technique, your technical qualities, technical abilities as to your passing, your range of passing, your skill of passing. Be it short, long, high, or whichever. Whether you are distributing with the punt, that is from the hand to the foot, doing a long ball, or whether the ball is on the turf and you have to do a medium pass, you have to dink the ball. And all the different techniques, the goalkeeper must be able to execute them as and when it is required. That is why your judgment should be at another level. So goalkeepers are now trained to be very, very good ball players.
Yes. Yep.
And apart from being good ball players, but knowing when to pass the ball, the direction to which to pass the ball, the speed of the ball, and the trajectory of the ball. So these all come with a lot of specialization. So for which reason goalkeepers have become so important.
Yes.
That they join the whole team when his or her team is on the ball. They don't stay in the goal area. They join to make the attacking the numbers, to make up the numbers. So for which reason you can always see that in the last line of defense, the back line, one of the central defense can always push up to join in the attack because they know the goalkeeper is behind to play that role. So for which reason we call them goal players.
Yep.
Some of them are used as sweeper players. Some of them are used as libero players, depending on the situation, depending on the strategy, and depending on the vision and style of play of the team.
But how do you manage that? When do you know when to kick it long, kick it short, hoop it into the... When do you... Because I'm saying this because I'm an Arsenal fan. And in one of our games this season, Ben Leno made a mistake where there was pressure on him, and instead of hitting it long, he chose to pass the ball. And unfortunately, it went to the wrong player, and we considered a goal. In the post-match, Arteta was like, he should know that there are times where you can pass it short. There are times when you just have to challenge.
Very well.
As it used to be.
Absolutely.
As a goalkeeper, how do you navigate that? When do you know, okay, today, for this moment, let me give it to my defender. For the next moment, let me kick it long. How do you manage that?
That is why goalkeepers should be able to read and analyze the game situationally. In as much as your system of play, your tactics, just want to build from the back. I want to use my two central defenders to build up. I want to use my 2 wide players to build up. I want to use my controlling midfielders to build up, depending on the situation. Because you are not playing in isolation, you always have an opponent. So you read the situation based on the positions of the opponents. If it's not too dangerous, you can start the build up from the back, which is easier.
Sure.
But if the opponents are there at close range, you need to avoid making mistakes. So in this situation, you need to go long to avoid making mistakes which will be capitalized and used against you by the opponent. So the situation should determine the goalkeeper's judgment, whether to build up from the back or to do the long ball. So, but I must also add that goalkeepers are human beings. Goalkeepers have low points and high points.
Sure.
Goalkeepers also do make mistakes.
Yep.
But you are not allowed to make fundamental or basic mistakes. These are very basic. The situation tells you what to do next with the ball. The coach from the sidelines cannot tell you what to do in a particular situation. That is why you are professional. You are trained to do that. You should be able to interpret. You should be able to analyze the situation and, of course, act accordingly. That's why we say goalkeepers must be very sharp and very smart.
Now, I'm going to put you a bit on the spot there, and that will be my last question on this whole, the new trend of goalkeeping. Having watched a lot of European and African goalkeepers, who are the top 3 or 5 goalkeepers that you think have been able to adapt to this new way of goalkeeping? Or who are your best, basically, goalkeepers currently?
Are you talking about our domestic league?
No, I'm talking about, say, European football. We'll come to the Ghana Premier League. But when it comes to
football in general, I tell you, Alisson has so far been a standout player, so far as I am concerned.
Sure.
I'm also looking at the Man City goalie.
Ederson.
Can you remind me?
Ederson.
Yeah. Ederson is another personality who has demonstrated time and time again that they are real team players.
Yep.
When it comes to functional football,
he's great with his foot.
You can't beat them.
Yep.
You know when to release the ball, where to release the ball to, the speed of the ball, the trajectory of the pass. They are specialists. These are 2 goalkeepers who are standout. I can also see that Mendy used not to be at that level. But Mendy of Chelsea has now, of late,
he's learning,
added a lot of quality into his goalkeeping, functionally, especially when playing from the back. Now his range of passing has become very qualitative.
Sure.
And I think he's another goalkeeper that I think he's coming up quickly and adapting quickly to the situations. We have many goalkeepers who, of course, are outstanding in their field of play. But then, when it comes to functional football, we have goalkeepers who stand out. And I think readily, these are the 3 goalkeepers I can think on my feet to mention, spontaneously.
You mentioned Mendy, and that was going to be my next topic. The presence of African goalkeepers in the top tier of world football. We have a lot of good goalkeepers down here. Yeah. Over the years, we've produced a whole lot of great goalkeepers from the African continent, the Nkono and the likes. But you rarely see African players keeping post for the likes of Real Madrid, the Chelsea. Of course, Mendy is now doing that. What's the challenge? What's stopping us from, just as we are producing great players, why are we not producing players who will command first team roles in basically all the top 10 clubs in the world?
I mentioned in my earlier submission about how the goalkeeping department is a specialized department.
Yeah.
And you need specialists to be able to do that. If you look at in other jurisdictions, they have consciously and deliberately invested time and energy and funds into the goalkeeping department, making it autonomous. So you have special vision. You must train your goalkeeper according to the vision of your team. Now, you look at scouting. You scout your goalkeepers according to your vision. Identifying the talent is very important. You identify them at a particular age level, then you begin to develop them accordingly. And with time, they grow up and they become very much accustomed to that department. It's a conscious effort, and everyone or every FA or every MA must make, or every club must make that deliberate and conscious effort to invest in that particular department, that is goalkeeping department. Then you will get it right. For which reason, if you look at the likes of the teams that you just mentioned from the academy level, goalkeepers are trained systematically. Goalkeepers are integrated into the main training sessions to play with their feet. So if you observe, great passers, goalkeepers are great passers of the ball because they do understand the controlling and passing. Then when it comes to goalkeeping specifics, then you deal with the specific attributes, the physical attributes, and the technical attributes. And these are all specialized areas which must be tackled consciously. And you must have a vision to be able to do this. And it doesn't just lie in the hands of the goalkeepers to do that, but you need to have specialist goalkeepers technicians. I'm talking of goalkeepers trainers. I'm talking of goalkeepers coaches. You must be a specialist to be able to handle that department consciously. So that is why, it is for which reason that outside European clubs have better goalkeepers, because they have invested consciously into that department and have paid attention to the special demands of that goalkeeping department.
So you're saying it's more or less like African nations need to make a conscious effort at producing world-class goalkeepers.
Absolutely. And making goalkeeping an integral part, making goalkeeping an autonomous department who have a vision, not devoid or not separate from the vision of the MA itself. So conscious efforts are made to develop the goalkeepers according to the vision. It involves a lot of technical abilities, and in skill build-up. We are talking of the technical qualities. We are talking of, the psychological aspect, mental toughness, and all those kind of things. But it comes first and foremost with your technique. Technique is very, very important. Controlling and passing. Controlling and passing. And these are the things that are very, very, very necessary when it comes to playing the game. And controlling and passing with the feet, controlling and passing with the hands and the whole of the body.
So now we have the likes of Gomez at Rennes, we have Onana, who is doing quite well at Ajax until his unfortunate incident.
But in their situation, you see that they find themselves in another jurisdiction who have already had the structures in place. The facilities are there. They have everything there that will take care of the needs of the goalkeeper. So you see a goalkeeping department which has a goalkeeping director. Yes.
Yeah.
The head of the goalkeeping department. You have the trainers, goalkeepers trainers on the pitch. You have the goalkeepers trainer who is focusing on how the goalkeeper is dealing with high and long crosses. Sorting out their feet, judgment, high and long crosses. You have because in goalkeeping, you are talking about defending and attacking. How do you defend corner kicks against you on the left and on the right? How do you defend free kicks against you, depending on the distance from the goal? These are all part of goalkeeping. How many players do you need in the world? And when it comes to attacking free kicks, attacking corner kicks, I'll give you just a recent example of Liverpool.
Yeah,
Alisson, who is the catalyst as far as their qualification in the Champions football is concerned. It's all as a result of the effort of one individual, and that is Alisson. He left his goal area just about some seconds to the end of the last kick of the game, attacking corner kick. He came, and it was he as an individual who had to convert. So what does that tell you? It tells you, one, you need courage to be able to do that. You need confidence to be able to do that. And above all, you need the quality, the technical ability to be able to execute. So this makes him complete.
Someone was saying that of course that's not the first time a goalkeeper has scored a goal, but due to the evolution of the game now, it's going to add another role to the goalkeepers, where goalkeepers will now be relied upon in the later part of the game, especially when their teams are trailing, to go up there and try to score goals for their team.
I tell you, it is not part of the roles of the goalkeeper.
Sure.
No. You need to look at the quality of your goalkeeper, the situation that demands that the goalkeeper go up there. Is he able to execute it? It is not one of our roles. It is a rare, what do you call it, responsibility, which is taken by the individual goalkeeper.
Okay.
But he needs the permission of teammates. He needs the confidence of teammates. He needs the permission of technical team. He needs the confidence of the technical team. But in a situation where he goes up and is not able to convert, and there's a counter attack and the goal is scored against him, he is going to be blamed directly. In as much as he can score all the points for converting and going up there to score, he will get the whole blame if a goal is scored against him, because your first and primary role is to prevent the ball from getting into your goal. But going up to score is a secondary responsibility.
So this is going to be my final question on the African goalkeepers. We've produced a lot of goalkeepers on the continent, the likes of Nkono, Antoine Bell, and their likes. If you're pushed to the wall, name your top 5 African goalkeepers of all time, who would they be?
I tell you, it will be very unfair to do that, because we have generations.
Sure.
And I always believe that every generation, let's take it at least a decade, 10 years, we have goalkeepers who are produced, top-class goalkeepers who are produced generationally. And we must not also forget that football has evolved. Those years you are talking about, the years of the Thomas Nkonos, the Antoine Bells, and I used to have this goalkeeper in Nigeria that I admired so much. When I remember, I will prompt you. He was one of my idols, and I admired him so much. During those days, or those years, the rules were very different. The back pass rule was not that effective. Goalkeepers did not play too much with the feet. Goalkeepers did not need to join the attack to play, because the rules were very different. The speed of the game was different, and many other things have changed. So for which reason, the style of goalkeeping has also changed generationally. So comparatively, those years that you're talking about, the Nkonos and the Antoine Bells, were basically short stoppers. They operated mostly in their goal area. They were champions of keeping the ball out of the ball. So that aspect, you cannot go far away from mentioning the Thomas Nkonos and Antoine Bells. And the question also pops up: why is it that in Cameroon, the Cameroonians, the Senegalese could produce goalkeepers?
They have a rich history of producing.
Don't leave Ghana out. How come they were able to produce the Robert Mensah, the Joseph Cars, the John Bakers of blessed memory? There were some years we had top-notch goalkeepers.
It's true.
You know, so Ghana can't be left out in that equation of having top-class goalkeepers of yesteryears. It is just that we're not able to maintain that level of goalkeeping over a period of time, simply because we did not add a lot of value. We did not pay attention. Because if you look at Ghana of yesteryears, goalkeeping, most top goalkeepers came from the Western region. You could see the Northern region.
And you know, Reverend Sekofu has been saying this thing, that if Ghana was a serious country concerned with our goalkeepers' position, by now there would have been some research or some academy set up in the Western region purposely for producing goalkeepers.
Well, that one could be the case. But we need to understand that football has become so scientific.
Sure.
It is the same way, that same argument will also come out. Why is it that some years past we had the best wingers coming from the Western region? When you talk of wing play, the Kofi Abres, the Asians, and so on and so forth. Crosses of the ball. Wing play. Yes. So that notwithstanding, I think that in as much as I will agree with him partially that a research will be conducted to find out how come we were able to, unearth such talents. But now football has become so dynamic. It's widespread that you can unearth talents from everywhere and anywhere, every corner in the country. But it's about the consciousness, going around with deliberate effort to unearth those talents, bring them together and give them the necessary and the needed skill to be able to, to develop and grow.
All right, thank you very much. And this is Sports Check, where we are speaking to Abukari Damba. We've discussed a whole lot of topics about African goalkeeping, world goalkeeping. Our next topic is the Ghana Premier League. And once we come from this break, Sports Check, and my name is Perez Ezwakwa.
Powers and principalities.
There's so much fire inside me.
Tragedy struck when part of the largest hillside at the kosher rubbish dump collapsed.
It's going to be fun to see how he goes about approaching this game.
Back from the break, we are talking goalkeeping, and Abukari Damba has been my guest. We are going to talk about the Ghana Premier League. Damba, have you been impressed with the level of goalkeeping seen so far in the Ghana Premier League this season?
I must say to you that with the materials that we have around at our disposal, I couldn't have been any more impressed. Before the kickoff, the league kick started, the question was posed to me, Asante Kotoko. You have Felisana, you have Kwame Ban, you have Danladi. Why Abalora?
Yeah.
Then I told them, this is the best decision, as far as I am concerned, that Kotoko has made.
I kind of disagree. I feel that...
Yes, you can disagree. But I'm saying to you that Kotoko demonstrated beyond all reasonable doubts that the goalkeeping department was such a very important department. In as much as they had Felisana, they had Kwame Ban, who were all national
team materials.
Assets. Danladi, national asset. They still thought it wise and saw it very prudent to bring into the fold and Abalora. And I tell you what, it just proved them right. When Abalora took over the goalkeeping department, the goalkeeping position, he took it over from Felix Annan due to certain reasons that we don't discuss here. Not because Annan was deep in form, not because Annan was not a good goalkeeper. You and I know that Felix Annan, over the period of years, has demonstrated that he's...
For me, he should be our number 2.
Well, that is an opinion. But Abalora came and took over and has been consistent in the goalpost.
Sure.
But in as consistent as he has been, he started becoming complacent and made quite a number of infantile, basic mistakes. And it's not because he's a bad goalkeeper. But I believe very strongly that it is mental fatigue, for which reason he was losing it. So you had to get an equally good replacement immediately to fill into the gap, to keep on the momentum. Felisana was available, Kwame Ban was available. But it must come with a lot of expertise to be able to keep such top-level practicing goalkeepers in one club. Because you need one goalkeeper to perform at a particular time. But what do you do to keep them competitive? What do you do by rotating them to keep them very active and alive? It is also another discussion altogether. It comes with a lot of expertise. But I am saying that the goalkeeping department has been very active this year. I have seen it in Abalora. I have seen it in this Adriana goalkeeper, who has been very, very impressive so far as I'm concerned. I'm talking about the young goalkeeper of Wafa.
Wafa. Yeah.
He has also very much impressed me. The goalkeeper who just came in this, is it Edie or Rashid, they call him, of Great Olympics.
Yes.
He has also
he's a fantastic guy.
I am telling you, these are goalkeepers who are really proving that given the opportunity and given the right direction, the right training, they will definitely hit the headlines. So goalkeeping has been very competitive. Very, very, very competitive. And if you look at the stats, you look at the performance statistics, statistically, you see that yes, a lot of clean sheets. Abalora stands tallest, a lot of clean sheets. You know, but it's not clean sheets which makes you
the best goalie.
The best goalie. But it only tells you that with a clean sheet, you are able to manage and control your defense in terms of leadership. So these are all some of the things that we have to look at. So I think that for me, in terms of goalkeeping, the Ghana Premier League has been outstanding. Goalkeepers have been very, very impressive. But there's a lot of room for improvement.
What has impressed me most about them is their effort, their attempt at adapting to what we earlier discussed. So now they no longer hit it long as they used to be. You can clearly see that they are working on passing it short, spotting a chance and kicking the ball. They are not just, kicking the ball in here. And for me, that's impressive. It marks some progress in our Ghana. But when it comes to what you've seen so far, which goalkeeper has stood out for you?
In terms of, playing with the feet, if you look around, spread it around all the goalkeepers. I forgot to mention Danladi, Ibrahim, on loan goalkeeper for
King Faisal.
He has also been an amazing personality. Look at his exploits with the national team, and he has, of course, progressively brought it to bear so far as the league is concerned. Playing with the feet, just as we mentioned, yes, goalkeepers are now making conscious efforts because football has evolved. That is the trend so far as the game is concerned. We want to see the goalkeeper. How functional are you? How are you able to aid your team when they have the ball and they're attacking? And you can only do that by keeping the ball in the team. It adds a lot of confidence to you as an individual player, and it adds a lot of confidence to your team, especially when your goalkeeper is able to distribute, keep the ball in the team in terms of passing. He's able to do, once in a while, do a long ball, a counter-attack, long ball, which might result in goal-scoring opportunities. And I think this is what we are all talking about. You are very right in saying that we have seen a lot of improvement in that aspect of the game. We are now moving away from just being ordinary shot stoppers, just preventing of goals, to also aiding our teams to be able to make the goal-scoring opportunities very, very high by improving upon our passing, controlling and passing abilities. Being able to be visionary to locate a teammate high up the pitch with a great technical pass. And I think our goalkeepers are doing that, but we need to work consciously and deliberately towards getting them up to the next level, because internationally goalkeepers are high up there and we need to catch up.
You made mention of Razak Abelora. He's currently our number 2. Per the last games we played, he was the Black Stars number 2. Now, in the last game, he was replaced by Felix Sanan. We all admit that there's been a slump in his form. Would that not affect his Black Stars chances?
I'll tell you what, there are 2 scenarios. I just indicated to you that it is not as a result of a dip
in form,
but momentary loss of concentration. It could be as a result of complacency, seeing himself as I'm the number 1, nobody else comes near. But listen, if you are number 1, you need to be reliable, you need to be consistent. And this is the learning curve. So when they make such mistakes, then they mature. It's experience time for them. So he becomes a better person, he becomes a better goalkeeper, for that matter. It mustn't affect his position in the national team. Never. We are talking about building the goalkeepers for the next level. Abalora has been identified and we are in the process of building him up. These singular mistakes should not reflect or affect our quest to building him into becoming a formidable force so far as goalkeeping is concerned at the highest level. It mustn't affect him. The only thing is that we need to work on him. Why is it that he was able to make, or he made such mistakes consistently, about 3 times, making the same mistakes? Why? We need to find out as trainers, as the technical people, as the stakeholders. We need to find out. Somebody should be responsible to do that. Yes. It is our responsibility as technical men and stakeholders. Identify the mistake and make the player better. It is not, the onus does not just lie on him to do so. It is our problem as technical men to make Abalora a better person and a better goalkeeper. But for me, it is a learning curve. You can never, ever be in the goalpost forever without making mistakes. Some mistakes are pardonable. Some mistakes are not pardonable. And some mistakes which are deemed very fundamental, very basic, are unpardonable. And you must be responsible for your mistakes. And that is why Abalora must be responsible for these mistakes. But we don't need to chastise him. If we do so, we will kill his confidence. And if we do so, we will kill his growth. But at the end of it all, no matter how we pep him up, no matter how we encourage him, no matter how we psych him up, it now relies on him as an individual how to get himself up. It's not how many times you fall, it's about how many times you get up. So now the responsibility lies in the hands of Abalora to wake himself up, wake up to the reality, and come back and get working.
Is that a bit of a challenge for the Black Stars coach? Because now at some point we had Olili and Samir J as our top 2 goalkeepers. We've gone from that to Richard Ofori, who I admit is fantastic, but cannot be put on the same level as the great Olili. We have Abalora, who is our second, losing concentration at this crucial stage of the season. If you're a Black Stars coach, would that not be a headache for you that your second goalkeeper is making such errors?
Absolutely. It will be a headache for me. That is the reason why I am the trainer. I am put there to fix the problem, to fix the challenge. That's why I'm there. It will be a headache for me. For which reason, we coaches have what we call the coach-player relationship. You can have an individual or 1v1, one-on-one conversations with your coach, with your goalkeeper, and find out what the challenges are. The challenges could not be coming from on the pitch. He could be bringing challenges or problems off the pitch onto the pitch, which could affect him psychologically. How are you able to deal with such situations? This intermittent loss of concentration should not happen. And there's a brain training to be able to deal with such players who have such challenges.
Do we offer our goalkeepers such, if not just do we offer our players such psychological assistance?
We do.
Okay.
We do. That's why we have psychologists in the teams.
I'm talking about the Ghana Premier League.
The Ghana Premier League, that is why the club licensing says that every club must have a psychologist in the team to be able to deal with the psychology of the players. Absolutely. Because psychology is nearly almost 75 to 80% in the game. Because it is the brain which functions. So we need to have psychologists to be able to look at the psychological aspect of the players, develop the players mentally, and let them put them in the position to be able to deal with such situations when they find themselves in them. That's why the goalkeeper is so important. We are saying that momentary loss of concentration and the team is down. So the goalkeeper should be able to maintain concentration for a longer period of time. And how are you able to do that? We have practical training sessions. Practical training sessions for maintaining concentration for longer periods of time. That is conducted by the goalkeeper's trainers.
Okay.
You have it on the pitch and you have it off the pitch. These are things that must be infused into our curriculum for training and our programs for training. And it makes our goalkeepers better and better and better every day.
I think we've had enough of goalkeeping. Let's come to, I think the last time I spoke to you, you said you were the PFAG or you were training goalkeepers, basically more like an academy purposely for, or a setup purposely for training goalkeepers. How confident are you about the future of Ghana football with respect to the talent in your hands and goalkeepers you've seen elsewhere?
I tell you, let me correct this impression. I was once a goalkeeper. I specialized in goalkeeping, but now I am a coach, a fully fledged coach in general coaching. And if you want to be a very, very good goalkeepers trainer, you must have knowledge in general coaching. You must understand strategy. You must understand tactics. You must understand systems of play. Because football is functional and goalkeepers are an integral part of the game. So I'm saying to you that in as much as I'm a specialist in the goalkeeping department, I juxtapose that against the totality of the game, functional. So I do functional goalkeeping. Apart from dealing with the specific attributes of the goalkeepers, I deal with their functional play as well as team players from the goalkeeping perspective. So with the PFAG, I'm the out of contract trainer for the PFAG, for that matter, and I deal with out of contract players from First Division, Premier Division, and so on and so forth, both male and females. So you'll see that I'm on my training grounds now. This is the Wembley AstroTurf. This is where I do my out of contract training, and it is not just goalkeepers. Outfield players are here, and I deal with 30, 40 outfield players. Sometimes I can have 10, 15 goalkeepers. So I do a combination of both, because there are certain times I need to see the goalkeepers play functionally. How do they build up from the back, with the back line? How will they do the build up, doing the long ball to locate a striker up front? Where do they put the ball, depending on the situation? So this is what I do here. So I do complete academic training here.
So how do you prepare them for penalties? Is it that, you just wake up or it's scientific where you train them that, okay, if a player takes a step with the right, you have to dive this way. If he takes with the left, what goes into it as a coach?
I do penalty training nearly almost about 3 or 4 times in a week. I do penalty training, not just for my goalkeepers, for the outfield players as well. One, penalty comes one, you must have a lot of confidence. That is one. But if I'm going to zero it down to only my goalkeepers, I always teach my goalkeepers in terms of penalties, you react to the situation and not anticipate. Because if you're going to rely on anticipation, you always get it wrong. But react to the situation.
That's a difficult task.
Come again?
That's a difficult task.
That is why we are goalkeepers. You have to react to the situation. And your reaction must be quick and very fast.
Charlie.
That is why you are goalkeepers. Yes.
And
these ones, because it is a verbal thing, if it was practical, then I would demonstrate to you the position of the goalkeeper, the body posture of the goalkeeper, and you look at the feet, which must always be shoulder width apart to allow for you to either collapse or do a take-off without adjusting the feet. And these are all taught, and they are practical experiences that goalkeepers must have and must be taught. Because the goalkeeper, you must be very explosive. Very, very explosive. Now, I tell you, there are certain players who will look at one direction and hit the ball as hard as they can. If the goalkeeper dives to that direction and you get it right, you must have a very strong hand to bring the ball out of the goal.
Sure.
To prevent the ball from crossing the goal line, you must have a strong hand to be able to do that. And you must dive across the ball. So these are all technical abilities which must be taught. It must be taught over and over and over again. But it doesn't come that easy.
So now to your very self, you kept for the Black Stars. What's your biggest moment as a Black Stars goalie?
I will tell you my biggest moment, and will always continue to be my biggest moment. And as much as people will see the negative aspect of it, me as the one who was involved, and I'm referring to Ghana, Algeria, our second leg against Algeria, that was in 1993, a World Cup qualifying game. And if we had qualified to the World Cup 1994, the 1994 World Cup in the US of A, I would have been one of the goalkeepers who have qualified Ghana the first time to the World Cup. So that meant a lot to me. That was the time which made me and unmade me. It was the time I was in my elements as a goalkeeper. It was the time I would have sold whatever I had in me in goalkeeping to the whole world by taking Ghana to the World Cup. And it was in that particular game that I crumbled. But it is another ball game altogether. But it gave me a lot of experience going forward.
When you say crumbled, what happened?
You know, after that game, for your interest and for the interest of your viewers, Black Stars was in camp in France, in Marseille, prepared for the game against Algeria. And whilst we were in France, most of the clubs were in our training grounds. And I'll tell you, I was one of the hottest kicks that club was looking for, especially PSG.
Okay.
Yes, I was on the radar. They followed the Black Stars to Algeria to watch the game. I was going to be given an opportunity to play. That is why I said I crumbled. And it was one of the worst performances in my career, the whole of my life. But that was a life-changing moment. Life-changing moment. And anytime I remember it and I talk about it, in as much as I know I will use the experiences for the up-and-coming ones, I just can see what it did to me as an individual, my family, and my admirers. But more importantly, my country. What can we say about that? It is past and gone. That's why I said to you, I crumbled. It would have been a changing point, a turning point in my life.
Do you sometimes feel that you let the country down in that particular?
I just don't feel that I let the country down. I let myself down. And I tell you what, I wish at that time anybody could put him or herself in my shoes. Things of this nature, if you are not strong and you don't have people around you, you can commit suicide. It can lead you to commit suicide. If here.
Is this something that you thought of?
I never thought about it because I had very good people around me. Because I could not fancy it. I couldn't fancy it. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was on top of the world. And the next moment, I was underneath there. And everybody was pointing fingers at Damba. It is Damba. It is the fault of Damba. It is Damba.
Jeez.
The whole country pointed fingers at me. My teammates pointed fingers at me. My friends pointed fingers at me. At the end of it all, it was left with who? Damba. How did Damba handle it? How did Damba deal with it? But I thank God I'm still alive. I thank God I can teach it. My personal experience to the up and coming ones, because I felt it. I was in it. I felt it. Before, during, and after the situation. So I think it's well and good because it's a learning process.
Sure.
I am now in another at another level where I can teach, I can impact. So I think it has taught me a huge lesson that I think I don't regret.
That's some lesson for young players coming up. My very last question is about, you're obviously a great goalkeeper, but who was that idol that inspired you?
I tell you, coming up, growing up, the only goalkeeper that I knew excuse me, and the name kept ringing bells in my ears, was Thomas Nkono of Cameroon, as young as I was. Just that I did not adopt the name Thomas Nkono. I grew up, went into the Premiership Division, and I was so privileged to have one of Ghana's top goalkeepers in the person of John Baker of 11 Wise fame, the Black Stars fame. They brought him to join me in RTU those days, and he was my trainer. He was my mentor. He did everything for me to bring me up. And honestly, I took over from him. And that is where it propelled me. And coming into the Black Star proper, I had the opportunity to travel with the national team to Cameroon to play in one of our qualifying games. I cannot remember whether it was Cup of Nations qualifier or World Cup qualifier, but it was a qualifying game. And we went there to play the second leg. It was a drawn game. We played a draw game in Cameroon. Thomas Nkono was in goal. I had the opportunity to meet him live, to see him live. So the only souvenir I could bring back from Yaoundé was a very big picture frame, a frame of Thomas Nkono in action that I was able to purchase. I brought it back to Ghana, and it was, you know where I hung it? Right on top of my bed. If I slept and woke up, the first thing I saw was the picture of Thomas Nkono. He inspired me so much. I admired him so much. But I did not play like Thomas Nkono.
You carved your own path.
His style of play was different from my style of play. Why? Because the trainer who took care of me so far as development was concerned, that is John Baker. That's why I played like John Baker. But I admired Thomas Nkono.
Well, you know, that's an interesting story of a young boy growing up to meet his idol. And you heard him mention Second 11. That is a club I support. And if you know the history of Akabulemieza and 11 Wise, you understand why I support Second 11 Wise. So it has been Sports Check. My name is Perez Ezwakwao. Yapon.